believe Buffalo is going to win it, folks.
Kick your heels up and shout.
We've seen why the Buffalo Bills are en route to the playoffs.
Come on now, the Bills are making it happen now. Stand up now, come on and shout.
Buffalo Bills go undefeated. And we're going to the Super Bowl, yeah.
Now, baby, come on, come on.
No one
Come on
Circles the
and
wagon
shout.
like the Buffalo Bills.
And we're back, man. Thank you everybody that's tuning in and everybody's going to come tune in. We're back with another episode of Overdue Bills podcast. We ain't come up with a name for this segment. We got to figure that out, man. We got to come up with a own specific, the interview or something, right?
Yeah,
sound better.
We'll come up with something, or anybody tuning in, if you got an idea for our interview segment, put it in the chat. But thank you guys for being here.
For sure. But of course, you see I'm talking, so that means Preach not here. I'm here. I'm the host. I'm Rad. What's good, everybody? Preach taking some PTO pod time off right now to spend some time with his family and stuff like that. But you got Matt here, our trusty Matt. What's good, Matty Ice? What's good? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited. Home opener week. We got the Titans rolling into town. I'm excited, man.
Of course, man. Definitely. And obviously, as you see, we have somebody from the Titans. The Titans. As Sam would say, our ops. But we got Tyler here, man. Talk to us about where you from, how long you been a fan, and just the name of your podcast and stuff, everything like that. So let the people know who you are.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Tennessee, a couple hours south of Nashville. Was born in 93, so Titans come to Tennessee late 90s, and that was right when I was getting to the age of starting to watch football. So just the love of watching the Titans stuck then, and been a lot of ups and downs. I'll say that, but still sticking with them through and through. A couple of years ago, it was actually 2020, right before everything shut down. My brother and I were, we've been talking just football, and his now fiance and my wife were like, y'all just need to start up the podcast. And, brother got busy with school and stuff like that. So I've kind of took it over now, but started Titans Time podcast. You can find the audio version on any podcast
TTP
platform. That's right. And find us on YouTube as well, Titans Time podcast. And yeah, really it's just kind of gone from there. Went through that first year learning, was just in the audio version then, and now kind of the next year moved to more YouTube videos, or later that year moved to YouTube videos. And just been going strong ever since. And still, like with any year watching the Titans, there's been ups and downs, but
for sure.
Right here.
I hear you. We actually got a similar story too. We started doing it over the pandemic and everything too. But this gonna be a good show. We're gonna talk fantasy, we're gonna talk Titans, we're gonna talk score predictions, over unders. But before we do that, we want to talk about our sponsor. Matt, tell us who sponsored the pod.
Yes, sir. This show and every other show is brought to you by the good people at Buffalo Wing Kings. There's two things the guys over here at the Overdue Bills podcast know. That's Bills football, and that's wings. Our first choice and the best choice is Buffalo Wing Kings. Hit our guys up. We got the opener coming up on Monday. We got Thursday night football going on tonight. Get yourself some wings. Hit them up, 716-248-1427, or stop down to their Elmwood Village location at 484 Elmwood Avenue and find out why they say, and we know, they got the best wings in town, hands down. And make sure when you go in there, you mention our name, the Overdue Bills podcast. Get 10% off your order.
Wow, man, good job. I remember you had to look at the screen and stuff. Now you got that in your head. You just good now.
Yes,
shout out to that, man.
I do it in my sleep now. No big
just
deal.
dream about Wing Kings from now
Yeah.
on. But shout out to Wing Kings. Also, a special shout out to Buffalo fan base for helping us spread this video to even more of an audience. Shout out to them. And obviously shout out to Mike in the comments. I see you, bro. What's good, Mike? Mikey D in the comment, our editor in chief. As y'all see on the tag on a ticker below, we have our regular podcast every Monday, 7:30 p.m. So check us out for that. And of course, go on overduebillspod.com to get all the merch. You see it here. Matt got on the red, I got on the black. We got all different colors. Go check that out. And now that all that's over, let's talk. I got a question for you, man. How like before the season started, how because obviously week 1, y'all lost to the Giants, close game, nail biter, heartbreaker, whatever. Before the season started, how was the tenor for the Titans? Like, what was y'all thought? What was your thoughts on the season? How did you feel like this year was going to pan out for you guys?
So my thoughts on like before the season started, I honestly liked opening up with the Giants because I thought it would be a different outcome than last year when we opened up versus the Cardinals. But as you mentioned, a lot of heartbreak there. But really, the questions that I had about the team were the offensive line and the receivers. Obviously, off season we traded away AJ Brown. At the time when that trade was,
we gonna get to that. We gonna get to
that. I'll say whenever that trade happened, some of my buddies that have a show, I was actually on with them. We were live for the draft. And I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in the background of any of our screen because we were like, why did we trade away the best receiver that we've ever had in this franchise? And
I was literally like, it's the best receiver. I was literally thinking that. Yeah. Short list for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can make arguments. Him, Derek Mason, what they brought to the table, but yeah, I was like, why'd we do that? But as more and more has come out about that, and hearing AJ talk more, I'm like, okay, I don't see a way anything was getting done. So the Titans, I think they just did what they could, tried to maybe draft another receiver to replace. But yeah, that's where the questions were. Robert Woods coming back from an ACL injury. Then you have a bunch of young guys in that receiving room. And O-line, don't know.
Yeah, we took one of your best ones. He over here now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Saffold.
And
Roger.
And I love Saffold when he was here. Biggest knock on him, and even when I was watching that opening game for y'all versus the Rams, I saw it some. Usually, he's good to go down about 1 or 2 times a game. Now he's tough enough.
He's a big guy.
He's tough enough. He'll come back in if he can. But we just over the last couple of years we've been seeing that more and more, and now we got Aaron Brewer filling in where Saffold was. But you go from a big dude like Saffold to a guy that's a little bit undersized like Aaron Brewer, and it's like, okay, there's a question there, and then trying to figure out who was going to start at right tackle. That's kind of where the questions were.
I guess my question is like, so how did you feel like, all right, because somehow last year y'all ended up the 1 seed. Do y'all feel like, was it like, oh, we trying to make the playoffs again, or was it like, oh, we gonna try to slowly rebuild this thing because we let AJ Brown go? Like, was y'all thinking playoff team or?
Yeah, I've been thinking playoff team ever since then, just because, I mean, even though we let the Giants come back and, our defense didn't look the best week 1, kind of like most defenses, do. Yeah. I was like, we brought 10 of 11 guys back on defense. Like, this defense is good. Vrabel leading the team. He knows how to rally guys. Mm-hmm. And so I had that confidence. I was like, this team can figure it out, and I think they can still make the playoffs. AFC South is
wide open.
One of those divisions. Yeah, it's one of those divisions where when you look at it over the last couple of years, you think Titans or Colts. Yeah, like that's who it's going to be. And it starting out the year with none of us having wins. I mean, since we did lose to the Giants, I'm glad the Colts and Texans tied, but I'm like, man, them tying, this would have been a prime opportunity to take an early lead.
Yep.
But yeah, with all the doubt going on around them, I was like, I just don't get it, because this defense was so good last year, and bringing that back, if they start holding teams to under 20 points a game, like, that gives your offense a chance.
Now you talk about
sure.
you talk. I mean, if you got a question, man, this is my last one. But,
No, you're good.
Okay, but you talking about your defense, right? Y'all lost y'all leading pass rusher, right?
Harold Landry,
Harold Landry. And that was a big blow for you guys. Y'all don't, that was y'all top pass rusher. So how do you feel like that's gonna affect y'all team moving forward? And do you feel like you still got enough, to get to the passer?
I feel like we, as far as depth wise, before Landry got hurt, I like the depth that we had. We have a couple of young guys, specifically Rashad Weaver, who last year, in the preseason, he was starting to come along, and then he got hurt and missed the whole year. And then this year, coming back from that injury, he's picked it right back up. And even against the Giants, he was able to get back to Daniel Jones a couple of times. And the biggest thing that helps out is losing Landry is a huge blow. I mean, I can't just, slide past that like it's nothing. Like, the guy had double-digit sacks. He was a nightmare for quarterbacks last year. But when you have a defensive line and pass rush that consists of Jeffrey Simmons, Bud Dupree, Danico Autry, like, all you need is a young guy to step up.
Yeah.
Like, Weaver more than likely is only going to be seeing one guy. He's not going to get double teamed. That's going to be Simmons. That's going to be Dupree. So Weaver just has to step up and be that guy that, okay, if you're only going to put one man on me, I'm getting by him.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to get to like the skill guys, right? We know King Henry, he was, oh my God, talk about fantasy last year. He ran all over us. He ran over the whole. He was leading in rushing for like 6 weeks after he got hurt, right? So we know King Henry, who he was. We know him personally because he ran all over us. How long do you think this is gonna last? Do you feel like this he got 20 some carries last week for 80 yards? Do you feel like it's a step back, or you feel like no, we can still ride King, you can still ride Henry another year or two? Like, how long you think this whole King Henry thing is gonna last?
I definitely still think he has. I don't think he's going out of his prime yet. I'll put it that way. I think he's still going to have, 2, 3, maybe 4 good years left. That fourth year can be kind of iffy just because of how running backs age. But at the same time, before that injury last year, I mean, this was a guy, he's unlike any other running back.
Yeah, on pace for 2,000, 2K. He's going to get 2K. He's going to get it.
Yeah, with size and speed, like all of that. And a lot of people don't realize his first couple of years, even when he went to Alabama, he wasn't the day one starter in college. It took him a couple of years. Then near the end of his time there, that's when he got more of the carries. And coming into the league, it's not like he took over for the Titans as their lead back. It wasn't until I believe it was 2019 would have been like the first year where he really took on the whole load for the Titans. Mm-hmm. So, he doesn't have necessarily all that wear and tear. Really last year, I know record pace for touches, but compared to some of the other guys that come into the league, as far as the wear and tear and touches they had through college and the NFL, he was still maybe kind of catching up a little bit. So I think he can lead the way, but at the same time, I'm kind of torn because I'm like, you have this beast in the backfield, teams respect him. And I think now the Titans got to switch more to, okay, let's open up the run game for him through the passing game. Like, teams are going to stack the box right away.
Yeah.
Start airing it out down the field and make guys back up so that he actually has, there's stats out there where when the box isn't stacked,
you had a guy to do that.
Yeah.
You had a guy. He looked good in Philly too. He looked real good in Philly over there.
Yeah, he did. I'm just going to tell you, after everything that went down with that and some of the things that he said, I wish him the best. But at the same time, week one, especially with the Titans losing to the Giants, I wanted so bad for him not to have a big day. I'll be honest about it. But
a great day. He had a great day, right?
Yeah, because us losing to the Giants and him having a day like that, it makes people sit back and look and be like, well, I bet the Titans are regretting that now. But really what it comes down to, Traylon Burks, he showed some bright spots in this game against the Giants. I think he maybe led all receivers with yards after the catch. And like how many yards after the catch. And the Titans they played him 24 snaps, which is like 40-something%. And their main playmakers that they should have had out there, they didn't have them on the field that much.
Yeah.
Before you get to that far, but Matt, what you think about Derrick Henry? Do you feel like Derrick Henry, because if we go on the fantasy terms, people saying, I don't know, this might be he might start getting hurt more and more now. But how you feel about Derrick Henry moving forward? Do you feel like this is more of him, or you feel like he's slowly coming more downhill?
I don't think he's necessarily coming more downhill, but I think that they added Robert Woods to the mix, and you got Burks that they drafted. That whole passing game is dependent on him being successful and the respect that he draws. Yep. So whether or not he's playing well, he still commands that respect, right? So I don't think he's necessarily fading off, but the Titans have to do, and I think they are doing more of a job in kind of making him a decoy. They are giving him almost the same amount of carries, but I think that they're trying to get away from just solely dependent on Derrick Henry, because like he said, teams are loading up the box, and we did it last year. Yeah. He broke that one run, and I know I argued it last year. He had 20 carries. I think 17 of those carries were like less, I'd say like 15 of those carries, they were like, 1-2 yard shots. And then he broke a couple on us, scored 3 touchdowns because he commanded that respect. And when finally, they were able to, add in some play action. AJ went for like 96 yards on like 7 catches. That's when the Titans offense really started being successful against us. And they do that against every team. So to say that he's fading or kind of going on a downward slide, I don't think so. It's just, I think that the Titans offensive coordinators and offensive minds are going to slowly be less dependent on him unless they have to be.
All right. I mean, you said you want the Titans should open it up more, and you mentioned Treylon Burks, the first round pick, the guy to replace AJ Brown, right? He kind of play similar to him. But early on, it was reports, because I'm looking out for you, the young receivers in fantasy. So I'm thinking like, man, should I draft Treylon Burks? But all the noise in the offseason and training camp was like, man, he might be wide receiver 4. He not even. Yeah. So what was going on with that? Was that like real, or do you feel like he's going to essentially get it back, or you don't know yet? You don't know quite yet what you got in the rookie.
So I think with him, and you see this every so often with some players coming in to the league, like a lot of that noise was generated from the start because he come into rookie minicamp and he just wasn't ready to go. That's really what it boils down to. He wasn't in shape.
Yeah, young.
But once he turned that around and he started getting in shape, like the dude's been making plays in practice. He's been, even the Titans, there's been reports around them of people were talking about in preseason, oh, well, why isn't Burks getting the ball more? Why aren't y'all finding ways to just get the ball in his hands? Because he's a good – after he gets the ball in his hands,
that's why he was in college. Yeah, that's why he was in college. Yeah.
And they're like, why are y'all not doing this? And Vrabel was pretty much like, hey, we can't show our hand right now. Like, we have ways in the regular season where we're going to get the ball in his hands. And I think a lot of it was just overreaction to him coming into that rookie mini camp out of shape. And granted, coming from Arkansas to Tennessee, I've never lived in Arkansas like he would have been when he was there for college. But I'll tell you, this pollen and stuff in Tennessee, especially in the time where rookie minicamp was, him having asthma, I can completely understand not being able to be out there on the field. I don't have asthma, and those allergies hit, I'm down.
I hear you. Yeah. So what's your overall take on him? You feel like, he can not necessarily fill those shoes. AJ Brown's a stud, right? When he's healthy, obviously, when he's healthy, that was the biggest issue with him, health. You feel like, he can take on those shoes? Can he really replace that workload?
I think eventually he can.
Okay.
And I want to point this out right quick because this is something that I said on draft night. And the reason so much more was made of him coming into rookie minicamp out of shape was the fact of the Titans trading away A.J. Brown to go up and get him because there's already enough pressure on first-round picks to come in.
Especially
and
receivers. Especially receivers now,
yeah,
man. Whew.
And when you add in the fact of, okay, this team traded away their guy to come up and get you, that times the pressure by like 100.
Yeah, and they was comparing him to him like, yo, he his body type, how he run, it looked like AJ Brown.
Yeah,
like it just so many things didn't make it any better for him. But yeah, I think he can do that. He showed it this past week, getting the ball in his hands, even the separation he was creating. Like I think he was creating like 4 yards of separation, and even for a veteran receiver, if they're creating 4 yards of separation, like they're doing something really right. So
for sure.
I think the Titans are going to just ease him into it. They done the same thing with AJ. Saw a stat where AJ's first game as a rookie, he played 25 snaps. So he played one more snap than Burks did. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to protect him early on and just ease him into it. But I think eventually, and health will be the main thing. If he can stay healthy, if he's actually available all 16 games, that's where he can take the leap and really feel those shoes more.
I agree, because when you watch the games, obviously you got Robert Woods coming off his ACL. He's after Derrick Henry. It's like he's the next explosive guy, the next playmaker that if you can get the ball in his hands, he can make something happen. Let's talk about the guy who's supposed to get the ball in his hands, Tannehill, right? That's your guy. That's your quarterback. What's the tenor around Tannehill? Like, is it y'all still feeling like, he still can be here another 2-3 years? Y'all drafted. We could talk about that in a minute, who y'all drafted, but how y'all feel about Tannehill now moving forward? And if you want to talk about how he's been, the last 4 years he's been there or something, like what's the feel of Tannehill, how he's moving?
So the feel of Tannehill, I'll start from when, he took over, because obviously he took over in that 2019 season and just completely turned the season around. They went on that run to the AFC Championship game, got beat there by the Chiefs. But the way that he was producing then, and then even in 2020, now 2021 or last year, some things, just how much he was being sacked, I think that led to a lot of the interceptions because he was trying to get the ball out quicker and force it more. And I'll just tell you, a lot of Titans fans, after that playoff loss, Tannehill was out of there. Yeah, and I'll say it, the way that I put it is regular season, I have complete faith in Ryan Tannehill. I like him being here. I think regular season, he can get it done. He can get the Titans to the playoffs. My biggest thing, when it does come time for postseason, I want him to prove me wrong, because I don't think he's the guy that can get us to that Lombardi. And I want him to prove me wrong, obviously. But just when it's come to the last couple of playoff games, they've ended with him throwing a pick. Yeah. So like that kind of sticks in people's mind. But yeah, regular season, I don't have any worries for him. As far as how much longer he'll be around.
Yeah, that's my question. You think this is last year here, or?
It depends on what, and I know this is looking on down, but it depends on what he does if the Titans make the playoffs.
Yeah.
If they make the playoffs, even if they lose in the first round, if it's not directly because of him, like if he has a couple of touchdowns and he takes care of the ball, no turnovers, then yes, I think he could still be around. But if he goes into a playoff game and he throws 2-3 interceptions or has a couple of fumbles here or there, then I think he's gone, and they rock with the right now rookie, but next year would obviously be second-year player, because, I mean, Titans fans will be standing outside the stadium ready to burn Nashville down if Tannehill has another bad playoff game and he's still with the team next year.
I mean, you segued him, right? Y'all took him. What round did y'all take him? What round did y'all take Malik Willis in? Third? Was it third round?
Third
Third
yeah,
round.
He fell to the third.
He fell to the third to you guys. Y'all took him in the third round. You know, it was, you know, when they asked Tannehill, he said, I'm not the guy I'm not gonna train essentially the guy to take my job. So
right.
what's y'all, when y'all drafted him, did y'all feel like, wow, we get the guy that, you know, because the whole hoopla, the whole draft, you know, was like Malik Willis, he's the stud, he's the guy, he might go one, right? So
yep.
What was the feel when he fell to third, y'all took him, and do you even want to see him this year? Like, is that something that's people even pushing, like, yo, I want to see Malik Willis this out, because you know what I mean? What's going on with him?
So going back to the draft and everything, like you said, whenever he started falling in the first round and the Titans done the trade to go up and get Treylon Burks, send AJ away, at the time they still had like the 26th pick. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you've traded AJ away to get Treylon Burks. You're still sitting here at 26. If Malik Willis falls, you grab him right there.
Yeah.
And then they traded away that pick, and later on, and once he fell to the third and was still sitting there and they drafted him, I was like, okay, I think they got a steal, because like you mentioned, everybody was, I mean, hyped about him, saying he could be the first quarterback off the board, all that. And as far as seeing him this year, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple of packages here and there.
You know, I wouldn't mind that either. That's not a bad idea.
Not right now.
Yeah.
Not right now, but as you know, middle of the season, late in the season.
Yeah.
That's where I would like to see it sprinkled in more, because, you know, he showed in the preseason he can have a lot of exciting moments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's very raw in his talent. Like, he come from not taking snaps under center and not really knowing how to work the pocket. But there's a reason he earned that backup spot, and it's because he showed improvement every week. He got better at working the pocket. He got better at going through his reads. But, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some packages of, you know, him and Henry in the backfield.
So I guess my question is, like, do Titans fans see him as future or more project? Like, he might hit, or is it like, nah, in a year or two we just gonna give him the keys, or it's like we don't know yet. How do y'all feel about him? Is it project more future?
I think, man, that's tough, because I really want to say future. I want to combine like future and project, because
future project.
It's one of those things where the dude has so much talent, and especially arm strength, you know, I like the dynamic that he brings. And I think I'm going to say future, because I think he can sit behind Tannehill this year and he can keep learning that offense. There's no pressure on him to go in right now and take over the team, you know, unless something happens to Tannehill, in which case, okay, it's going to be, I think, handing him the keys and it's your time to go, kid. But I think he's future, because they can just let him sit back and develop right now. And we saw just from an off season how much he improved into coming over to this pro style. And you give him a whole season and then a whole nother off season. If Tannehill's gone next year, then future for sure. And as for other Titans fans, if they could right now, they would still probably sit Tannehill and put Malik in.
For sure. I mean,
get explosive plays, right?
It's kind of what happened with us too. And when we drafted Josh, we drafted him obviously, you know, 7th overall, but you know he was sitting behind you know, Tyrod. And
they wanted to sit him.
He wasn't supposed to play. They wanted to see he wasn't. Then he got thrust in there, and you know, the rest is history. I mean, not saying he came out of the gate on some Brady stuff, but he came in and he is what he is today. So I'm looking at a similar maybe timeline for Malik and sitting behind Tannehill and a fan base that wants to win and kind of seeing just the regular season Tannehill, and they want to see something that they can progress on towards the future in the playoffs.
Yeah, and on that, I just want to hit on this right quick because you mentioned what y'all done with Josh Allen. You know, another team you can look at is the Chiefs and what they done with Mahomes. He didn't come in and take over right away. They let him sit and then let him go in. I think that's the biggest things with quarterbacks like Allen and Mahomes and even Malik now. Don't just force them in there right away and tell them, okay, since we picked you, you know, right here in the first round, or, you know, luckily with the Titans getting Malik in the third, you know, we don't just have to drop the keys into your hand and throw you out there and possibly have your confidence get broke. Because that's the worst thing you can do to a young quarterback is throw them out there and their confidence get broke and then they're done. I think setting them, letting them learn, and if they have to be forced into action, then okay, that's one thing. But if you can let them just sit back and soak up all that knowledge, I think it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Now people might not remember, but the Titans was the 1 seed last year. Like one of those things that he's like, oh, they were the 1 seed. Y'all were the 1 seed last year. And I think a lot of credit got to go to Mike Vrabel. Like Vrabel is a good coach that I guess a lot of people don't like, or I don't know. So how do y'all feel about Vrabel? Do y'all feel like is he like undervalued? Should he be talked about more? The job he's doing, like, what's y'all take on Vrabel and his tenure been there? It's been all nothing but good, but like, do you feel like he's undervalued?
So it kind of depends, because really when it comes to like the national media, there's two people they'll give credit to on the Titans, and that's Derrick Henry and sometimes Mike Vrabel. But I do think there's times where he gets overlooked, because really what it come down to last year is you look at all the injuries the Titans had, and obviously Vrabel won Coach of the Year at the end of the year, everything. But, man, all the injuries started happening. They started counting the Titans out every week. No, too many people out there. And it wasn't until after they got the 1 seed that I think really more of the national media was like, okay, we need to appreciate a little bit more what Mike Vrabel is doing. And then even this year with the things that happen in the offseason, I feel like he's being a little undervalued again, because they're counting the Titans out. But, you know, Vrabel just carries that mentality of, you know, next man up. Y'all keep talking down on us, keep counting us out, because I'm going to use that to fuel my guys. And he has that way about him where, like I said earlier, he just knows how to get the most out of his players. Now, one thing I will say that this past week I disagree with him on is being asked questions about getting the ball to your playmakers more, and he just kind of brushes it off, and he's like, you know, we think all of our guys can, you know, if we put them out there on the field, we think they can produce. And I'm like, okay, I got to disagree with you some there. You look at all these other high-powered teams around the league, the thing that they done in week 1 is they were getting the balls to their playmakers.
No doubt.
All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the game. Let's talk. I want to ask Matt this question first. Sure. Like, so what do you feel like? And you can answer too the same way about the Titans. So, what do you feel like moving forward? What's going to be our game plan for the Bills to stop King Henry? Is we going to load the box? Like, how do you feel like we're going to, you know, attack this game? How you feel Leslie Frazier is going to attack this Titans offense? You know, they don't got AJ Brown now. It's King Henry. Yeah. So, how do you feel like we're going to attack this offense?
Well, you know, it really, I guess we could take a step back to the injury report. So last week we had, you know, we brought in guys the offseason in the front seven that, you know, proved to be successful, I guess you would say. In week 1, we have Ed Oliver, Tim Settle. We brought in another guy from the Titans, Daquan Jones, and also we have Von Miller and Greg Rousseau, right? And then we have our linebacker core. So that front seven is a completely different front seven and Jordan Phillips also. It's a completely different front seven that we saw that we had against Derrick Henry. And we were to a point where, the guys on here, they killed me for it last year. We were successful for the most part of the game against Derrick Henry. If you don't look at the 143 the big chunk plays, there was like a 23-yard touchdown, a 76-yard touchdown, and a 13-yard touchdown.
Yeah, just take those away. Just take those away.
Take those away. The other 17 carries, they were very successful. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you look at the whole picture, they were pretty successful. So I think they are going to load it up with our secondary, our two safeties being as good as they are. Our young corners have shown that they were battle tested last week with one of the best receiving corps in football. And you're going against, I'm not saying there's that, obviously Robert Woods and, Burks, they're not Cooper Kupp, either of them. Right. So you can afford to try to gamble a little bit and load that box up. And I think that's how they're going to attack that for sure. And then on the other side of the ball, just stay consistent on offense and we're going to score points.
All right, Tyler, what's your thoughts? What's your game plan? What you feel like your game plan against this Bills team, right? Because last year, I guess it was a little different. This team, I guess we got a little more confidence, I guess. So what you think your game plan coming off the loss of Giants, you feel like, all right, we need to turn something around. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, man, this one's tough because I'm just going to tell you, I was really hoping to be heading into this week with a win. Yeah. That way I didn't necessarily have to worry about it as much. But, by losing to the Giants, now that turns this week into, okay, you got to find a way to go up. And this Bills team, and I'll say it because I've said it on my buddy's show. I got this Bills team picked when I pick my Super Bowl, I have pretty much a rematch of week 1. I have them going up against the Rams and beating the Rams. Just because, and with how y'all have added to y'all's team this offseason, and I feel like last year the team was ready to take the step, and just that crazy game with Kansas City,
all right.
I mean, that's all you can say.
So good, we changed rules. So good, we changed the rules, man.
Yeah, that's right. But attacking this Bills team, y'all's pass rush is going to be major, and I think you had a good point with y'all coming off facing Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, like probably overall a better receiving core than what the Titans have right now, just because those guys are proven. They've shown what they can do in the league week in, week out. And with the way Todd Downing has been calling the Titans offense aside from the first drive and against the Giants, it's very predictable. And I could see y'all's secondary coming up and y'all's defense just being like, okay, we're going to give y'all one-on-one matchups on the outside with your receivers. Yep. If you make us pay for it, okay, but we're not letting Henry take over this game.
Yeah.
And I think it could be it could potentially be a long day for Henry in that aspect. And, like you mentioned, they may be able to hold him back for 17 carries, but that 18th carry,
you never know.
He could bust it
free. Home run.
But it's going to come. There's a lot of pressure on the Titans receivers and their O-line because the O-line held up good against the Giants, but they had a couple edge rushers out. And, Von Miller and the snaps that he played in week 1 was wreaking havoc. So,
I just want to add to that too. I know in a lot of the media this week, I've been hearing that the Titans are going to come in. They're coming off a loss, so they're going to come in angrier and with more of a will to win. But on the flip side, the Titans were one of the teams like the Chiefs that we couldn't get over the hump the last 2 seasons, and majority of the guys on the roster for those 2 losses beatdown in Nashville 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and last year the close game. They were all on the roster, and they've had this one circled probably since the schedule came out, and then just being the home opener. It's the Bills are going to come out.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. On the emotional side, there's a lot going against the Titans too. So that's that's another added thing into my thoughts on this game.
I think this is really going to be a slobber knocker because, like you mentioned, the Bills after the last couple of years and it being the home opener Monday Night Football, man, there's so much to play for there and so much they want to prove after the last couple of years. Yeah. And the Titans, and I've said this over the last couple of years, the games that just throughout their schedule, the games that they should easily win and just run away with, they let the teams stay in. But then when it comes to big games like this, for some reason, they're able to turn it up another notch. And they win games that people say that they shouldn't. And, this is one of those where I'm up in the air because after seeing y'all's offense in week 1 against the Rams, man, for a while there, y'all were firing on all cylinders, and I'm like,
for sure.
I don't know, man. We giving out half days. They giving out half days here, so it's serious when you get half days off to suitings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it's almost gonna be a national holiday on Monday.
For the home opener at least, and then it's gonna be. I mean, I'll be there. I got season tickets. The home opener is always the biggest draw. I think for that. The home opener and the Patriots games are usually the two biggest draws, but that with this being the Titans, that's just an added bonus. Everybody's out for blood, fans, team, players, everybody. And I think the NFL kind of played this into, I don't know, it's just a little theory. They played the Giants first. You got Brian Dable, who was the offensive coordinator, and then you got us. It's a little like against the Titans revenge tour or whatever. I don't know. But they lined it up that way on purpose.
Yeah, and I'm surprised y'all have any just set aside big games because I'm just going to say, and I've always thought this, y'all Bills fans are, I don't care how bad the team's doing, y'all travel like crazy, and we went to the game last year here in Nashville, and, just as we were coming by Broadway, I'm looking around, I'm like, good grief at how many fans are here. And then even in the stadium, when the Titans offense had the ball, most of the time it's pretty quiet in there. But y'all had that stadium rocking, so I'm surprised y'all have any like big games. I think they're all big.
No, they are, but no doubt.
I want to move before we get to over and under score prediction and we get out of here. I want to talk some little fantasy. I want to ask y'all some questions. I want to start with you, Tyler. Derrick Henry, he must start. Do you feel like anybody, Derrick Henry, because it's the Bills defense, our run defense look a little better. Do you feel like if you got Derrick Henry, he a must start? And is he gonna give you a Derrick Henry game?
I'm gonna say, golly, that's tough. Henry is one of those guys. I'm trying to find my cop-out answer here.
I see it in your eyes. You're looking for it. You're looking for
it. Trying to put myself in an NFL player spot and give the answer that's kind of a cop-out. But he's one of those guys where he's a top guy in the league, and you pretty much always feel like you have to start him because, especially with Henry, you never know when he's going to break off that big one. And usually if he breaks off that big one, that's when he gets everything rolling. It's just like juice for him. Given how the Titans offensive line played against the Giants, though, I know Henry had 80 yards, but he should have had over 100, but some were called back for holds.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I feel like y'all's run defense is better than the Giants. I'm going to say start him off the sheer fact of he could get touchdowns down near the goal line.
And I know Hilliard didn't practice this week yet, so that might be. He was stealing a couple of of his goal line touches. It seemed like last week I was looking at the box score. I didn't really watch the game.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I'll say about Derrick Henry is that they've done it the past 3 seasons. Even if they're, I'm not saying we're going to go up by a bunch of touchdowns, but even if they're down a couple of touchdowns, he's still going to get 30 carries or whatever. You know what I mean? They do not care how much they're down by.
Them little screens they give them. Them little screens they give them for sure. Yep. I got one for you, Matt. Is Gabe Davis a top 10 receiver this week? Is Gabe Davis a top 10 receiver this week in fantasy?
I need to know this one because I have him on my team.
So I wouldn't say a top 10 receiver, but you gotta play him on your roster, whether that be in the flex or in your your wide receiver 2 spot. I don't know how your leagues are set up, but you gotta play him. I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to get majority of the targets, but man, it seems like Gabe Davis gets that big play every game, and he is going to get some targets, and he does not drop passes. And the guy, and Ken Dorsey's shown it. He's going to use everybody in the offense, but man, Gabe Davis is a big play touchdown magnet. It seems like in the last, I would say 8 games, including the last year's crazy playoff run. So man, you got to start him.
All right, and
wouldn't say more. Top 10. I can't go top 10 receivers because just the sheer numbers of wide receivers in the league, right? You got your top to bottom. I can't go top 10, but he is a must start.
All right, for you, Tyler, what Tennessee pass catcher, wide receiver, if any, should get some look this week? If you got him on your bench, should you play him? Should you think about? I know Robert Woods do the best. Do you think about Burks? Do you think about Robert Woods? Do you feel like any wide receiver should get any play, flex play, wide receiver 3?
So the injury report that come out today really kind of put a damper on it because the guy that I want to go with, it's just going to depend on if he's a go on Monday, and that's Kyle Phillips because he looked good. Yeah, he looks good. He has Tannehill's trust, especially. If the Titans do get down by a couple of touchdowns, that's when you could see Kyle Phillips really starting to get more involved. But he didn't practice today. I think Burks could be a guy to watch because I think we could see his snaps increase some this week. And if he's able to continue to build off what he had last week, then I'd go Phillips or Burks as a look, and if Phillips is able to go, I'm taking him. If not, I'm taking Burks.
All right. I don't know, Matt. Sorry, no, you're good. This is the last fantasy question. Dawson Knox. He didn't do as good as we wanted him to do last week. Yeah. Do you feel like Dawson Knox is a top 10 tight end this week? And if you got him, should you start him?
I don't know what's going on with my my camera feed here.
We hear you.
All right. Oh, we got it. All right. But man, you know what? I would say you got to start Dawson. He's from Nashville. He's this is another personal game. I feel like, and he didn't come out as hot, as everybody kind of expected him to be. I mean, he is in an offense where they use everybody. It's going to be week to week. Diggs, like I said, Diggs and Gabe. They're probably going to get the bulk of the major stats, but man, Dawson Knox, I feel like he's going to see the end zone this week. So I would say you got to play Dawson Knox.
All right. So Matt, we're just going to do some over and unders. You got some over unders for us. Then we're going to go score prediction. I guess you could talk about the weekly contest as well if you want to throw that again, or if not, but then we can get out of here. So you got some over unders for us?
Yeah. So I don't have. This isn't so. I see they got the DraftKings thing. We're not sponsored by any.
Cover it up there.
Oh, you froze.
Bad thing. Some of the props that I did see was Josh Allen over 268.5 yards passing this week. So I guess I'll ask you, Rad, and then I'll go to Tyler. Rad, you could start it off. Do we think we're going to go over or under that this week?
I think this week we go over. I think the goal is we're gonna put the gas to the pedal fast, quick, and in a hurry. Like we're home opener. Yeah. The fans gonna be crazy. I think Josh go bananas. So yes, 300 plus.
And then Tyler, we'll go to you.
I'm gonna go over as well. Like you said, I think y'all are gonna come out firing. Especially even if it's just that quick stuff. I think y'all are gonna come out firing like crazy. I know also Christian Fulton didn't practice today, so that could be big for this Titans secondary if he ends up being out. But I feel like Josh Allen always, even over, except for maybe 2 years ago, last year, I felt like he had a big game through the air too. I could be remembering wrong, but I think over.
All right, then we're going to go to the receiving core. We're going to go Stephon Diggs, over under 82.5 yards receiving. Rad, will go to you first.
Yeah, I gotta go over on this one too. I feel like it's gonna be their goal. I guess Diggs had a somewhat of a lesser year last year compared to the 2 years ago. So I think Josh and him, coming off that money and understanding, I think is really gonna be a priority to get Diggs going early and often and get him double-digit targets as much as they can. So I'm thinking 10 plus targets over 100 yards. So I'm going over.
All right, Tyler, how about you?
Mentioned it earlier. Other teams around the league are getting their playmakers the ball. They're going to get Diggs the ball. I'm going to go over.
Okay.
They're going to, like you said, Red, they're going to be trying to get the ball in his hands, double-digit targets. And if he gets double-digit targets, I just don't see any way he doesn't go over.
Yeah.
All right, now this one, this would have been a slam dunk at any point in the season for the over. But I'm going to go with Derrick Henry, King Henry, over 86.5 rushing yards against this Bills defense.
I'm gonna go under this year. I think we turned it around. I think Von Miller, Phillips, and these guys, and the experience of having that last year happen to us last year with Edmonds and these guys and Teron Johnson. I think we're coming for blood. I think I'm going under like 60 yards for Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry. I think he have his worst game against us this week against the Bills. That's all I'm calling it.
It's a bold prediction segment right there. All right, Tyler. We'll get
Derrick Henry in all your leagues. Sit him. No, I'm just like, I don't know about that.
Look, I like your confidence there. Matt, you mentioned it earlier about how with this Titans receiving core, I think the Bills aren't that scared of them, so they can stack the box against Henry.
Yeah.
You said 86.5. That's a little too high for me, given how I think y'all are going to play this game. I'm going to go under, but I do think it's going to be close. Just because I can see him, if he can ever, with that stack box, if he can ever make it to the second level once, I think he can rip off a good enough gain to make it close, but I'm going to go under.
I think y'all going to need to throw, and I think we're going to have Hilliard play, obviously. I think Hilliard going to be in the game a lot, too.
So then this is a bonus one sent in by Mrs. Daniels, our senior correspondent writer's wife. She mentioned a punt. So the Bills haven't punted in their last 4 games.
Wow.
Are we going to see a punt out of the Buffalo Bills this week, or do we not need to field that position this season?
We cut our draft pick, right?
Cut our draft pick. Our punter is just our holder, I guess, for the last 4 games because we went without one last week too.
No, we don't punt.
Over under. I guess a half a punt. A half a punt. Yeah, the Bills gonna punt this game.
The smart bet is to obviously go the over because to think that we're not going to punt again is insane.
Yes.
Just mentioning that we haven't punted in 4 games is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna take the under, man. I think our offense is gonna roll. I think our offense is elite. I think Josh is on the next level. And the only person gonna stop him is himself, and I don't think he's doing that anymore. So I say under.
I think y'all aren't going to punt a lot, but I am going to say y'all are going to punt once, just because I think Jeffrey Simmons and this defensive line can make just enough noise at one point to get y'all to a fourth down where it's like, okay, this is a little too far for our liking to try and risk it and give them this field position.
It is wild to say that we are even contemplating this.
I know, right? That's a
professional
crazy
game.
Crazy.
It is. That just shows the level of that type of offense and how successful it's been. But yeah, so all right, we'll get into the game. So as everybody who follows us and is with us week to week, our great sponsor at Buffalo Wing Kings, they provide us with a prize for our score prediction that we do every week. So this week, no different. We're going to do our score prediction against the Tennessee Titans on Monday. You're going to give us your prediction, and then the tiebreaker is going to be the total yards passing by Josh Allen. So you get your score predictions in. Definitely, we're going to have the post up with the video. With the contest, and you'll be able to enter until 7 p.m. on Monday night. So definitely get those selections in. The winner gets a $30 gift card to Buffalo Wing Kings. So the Bills open up as a 10-point favorite at home against the Tennessee Titans. So what do we got for score predictions, guys? I'll let you start, Rad, and then we'll go with our guest.
Sorry, Tyler, bro, but I mean, I guess I don't, there's no disrespect to the Titans. But, I feel like we're gonna see Case Keenum, man. I don't know. I feel like we're gonna see Case Keenum.
I feel Rad with the
I know. I'm sorry. I feel like
listeners from Nashville.
I know.
Hey, I don't know that we will because y'all want to kill us so bad. I know
that's what I'm saying. I feel like the animosity for this game is one of those games it's not obviously not Kansas City, but we want this game, right? We want to stop Derrick Henry and we want to beat the Titans bad. You know what I mean? So I think Monday night home opener, another nationally televised game. We putting up 35, 40 points. I go 38-13 Bills. Sorry.
Oh wow!
All right, Tyler. I don't know how you can follow that. I guess you got to give something.
All love, man.
It's always all love.
Man, look, I understand because again, like I said, I've been doing this a couple years now, and it's funny because I always say this. I'll give my record prediction for the Titans before the season starts, and I tell everyone, this is my honest thoughts on who I think they will beat and who they'll lose to. But when the regular season gets here, man, it's hard during the week to pick against your team.
No, that's
you're
right.
100%.
You don't want to do it. But before the season on my buddy's show, we broke down the Titans season, and I said, hey, we're going to beat the Giants when we go in to face the Bills. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Bills get us this year 28-24. But sitting here with y'all and knowing that we lost to the Giants, knowing how Vrabel likes to get his guys going and how these guys like that underdog mentality, I got to think that the boys find a way to pull it out. And I got to go with the Titans. It's still going to be a close game, and it's going to come down to the wire again. I'm going to say let's go 28-27. And I'm gonna give the edge just to the Titans.
All right. So I'm gonna go with mine. I'm gonna be pretty similar to Rad here. We put up 30 points in both meetings and we lost. And the offense has only gotten better. And the defense, we had the number one defense last season.
Our defense is way better. We had the number one defense, but now we got the number one defense.
Yeah, and I can't see that. I can't see losing that mojo from last week, and then we're going to be in the bright lights again. I cannot see it. And we also, we started off slow last week. We had 4 turnovers and just kind of took off from there. So I'm going to go with 38-10 Bills.
He went farther than me.
Yeah, I know. It's all love. And like you said, it's tough to, and I guess it's easy to say, oh, we're gonna blow them out. You know what I'm saying? It's easy for some, but I genuinely think that with the emotional side, the home opener, it's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
just
a lot.
the talent has gotten better on our side too. And
I think
and
Von
I
Miller.
can't
I
say-
think my thing is the crowd noise and Von Miller is like it's like just the worst nightmare for Tannehill this
Yeah.
week. I think Von Miller
Yeah.
gets to him twice.
Von Miller
I think twice.
is Von Miller's going to be the guy to highlight on y'all's defense because
Yeah.
I can see y'all taking advantage of. We got a rookie at right tackle.
Yep.
If they're not putting Von Miller over there on him, then I don't know what they're thinking because Taylor Lewan has had his ups and downs over the last couple of years, coming back from injury last year. But you got fresh blood there at the right tackle spot. I can see y'all putting Von Miller over there and just letting him saying, "Go get him." But
Absolutely.
again, it's one of those things where big game for both teams, and I don't. And if y'all started out slow last week, I need you to tell me what fast is because Allen was like 13 for 13 starting out.
I'm sorry. I definitely misspoke in the starting slow, but we made enough mistakes to where it should have been. It was close in the first half. It should.
Yeah.
Yes,
oh no, I agree.
We made enough mistakes to slow that down, is what I meant.
And not to mention, y'all playing a Thursday night game and then getting to follow it up with a Monday night game.
Yeah.
Like that itself adds into y'all are either going to be well rested and ready to go, or they're going to be so well rested that maybe that's how the Titans sneak this one out is.
Man, but like you said, Vrabel gets his guys going. I'm pretty sure the tapes have been playing all weekend at One Bills Drive too of the losses, and I'm pretty sure the highlights of Derrick Henry breaking runs and all that jazz. The angry runs, scepter, of Derrick Henry stiff arm and Josh Norman a couple years ago.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff is gonna
stiff arm heard around the world.
Hey,
yes,
I mean. That's inspired Josh Allen. I saw that stiff arm he laid last week.
Absolutely.
So Matt, I didn't get there. So do you got the injury report real quick before we get out here? Is Ed Oliver? Because I know that's the guy. We want to know is Ed Oliver playing or how?
Ed Oliver, him and Tim Settle did not practice this week, so that is huge. So that, like you said, it depends on the health. But luckily, we got a couple more days. We got that Monday night to see if those guys can go. So hopefully, time plays on our side here. But we do have a lot of depth in those positions also. So that's another thing to look at.
All right, man. That was a great show. Thanks, Tyler. Thank you. And just one last time, tell everybody what's your podcast and where they can come find you.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Find the audio version on any podcast platform. Just type in Titans Time Podcast. Find me on YouTube, Titans Time Podcast. Also on TikTok at Titans Time. And other social media handles, mainly active on Twitter, and that's at Titans_time.
All right, Matt. Thanks for coming on. Thanks, Tyler, for coming on. You want to do it, Matt?
Nah, you let the host rock with it.
All right, but we usually end every show with a little hey.
Let's
go.
Yes, sir.